Hey guys, Tammy here. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about how judges sift information. Okay, kind of what their mindset is. When we go into court, we tend to be in our own mindset. But if you want success in court, you have to learn how to get in your judge's mindset. Okay. And you might be telling me that, like, look, I don't think the court's fair. I think the system is broken, all those things. And, I and many other people would agree with you that it's not a perfect system. But what I tell people you have to understand is this is the system that you're in. So if you want to be successful in it, you've got to learn how to move through this system the way it currently is. Okay. Getting it changed and all that down the road or in legislation or whatever. Let's hope that all of that happens. But right now we are where we are. Your children are being managed through this system. And so you need to understand the perspective that the court is coming at your case with. Before I dive deeper into this topic, let me just remind you, if you like my content, don't forget to hit like on this video. Also subscribe to the channel so that you get notified as new videos are released. And as I've been saying lately, 70% of you are not subscribed. So if you are one of those, like I said, don't forget to go back over and hit the subscribe button. Okay. And always feel free to share on social media. When a judge looks at your case, one of the very first things that they are trying to do is take in a huge volume, right, of information in a very short period of time. And one of the big misperceptions I think that clients often have is they think because a judge did or didn't say anything that the judge agreed with the other side. If you say something and the judge didn't agree with you and the other side says something and the judge didn't agree with them, but then they make a finding that is for the other side, so to speak, you assume that it's because they believed X thing that the other side said. And what I find is that judges most of the time don't say anything about believing or not believing certain information that's presented in the case. I mean, their job is to be a third party neutral, right? They're not there to say, oh, well, that was a really jerky thing for you to do, or, oh, wow, you're such a great parent. I'm so glad that you're doing all those things. Good job. I mean, they might on some occasions say, I don't want to see you behave this way the next time, we're going to, your behavior has to be pretty egregious for a judge to give you a finger wag from the bench. It has to be pretty severe. As a general rule, in most cases, they don't do that. But what happens is the other attorney or the other person said some negative thing or something about you. And then because the judge didn't rule in your favor, you're assuming that they believed that particular thing. And I actually find vast majority of the time that probably wasn't the case, in my opinion. Because again, as lay people, we don't always have a clear concept of how the court is sifting through this information. But their lack of comment on something does not mean that they're agreeing with it, okay? It doesn't mean that they don't have a problem with it. You have to remember that they are looking at the law, okay? They're looking at the law in your state. They're looking at the family code sections that relate to whatever issue is in front of them. And then what they're trying to do is to pull out the pieces of your case in their mind that line up with those laws and then go, okay, does this piece line up favorably with this law, or is this a mark against this person where the law is concerned? That's kind of how they're compartmentalizing things as they go through it, right? It's sort of like point for mom, point for dad, point for mom, point for dad, right? It's kind of, they're kind of weighting all of those things, and they ultimately have to come to a conclusion on the issue. By the time that you go through the whole thing, a lot of the factors that you're presenting, that they're going, okay, this fact lines up with this issue. This fact lines up with this issue. But then the other thing that you have is, are those facts actually true or not? Okay, because people lie. We all know this, right? And so this is where the factor of credibility comes in. Because if you have conducted yourself in ways or said things to where you hurt your credibility with the court, the problem becomes that you may have 5 factors in your favor and the other parent may have 3 factors in their favor or whatever, 3, 4, and maybe you have 5. Maybe you actually have a little bit more factors in your favor. But then because of the way you've conducted yourself, the way you've presented in court, the way that you're interacting with the other parent, you actually hurt your credibility. And when you hurt your credibility, what happens is the judge starts going, well, they have these 5 factors, but I don't know if I can believe the things that they're telling me that relate to these 5 factors that they have, right, in their favor. I don't really know if that's true, if that's real evidence, or if they're, making it up because they don't seem terribly credible, because they're either not obeying court orders or they're going over here and interacting with this parent in this way. They're contributing to the conflict. They're doing all these things. And I think that is sometimes a point of frustration, because a lot of my clients will feel like that the court doesn't see those things in the other side when they're actually happening. And the problem is, when you're dealing with somebody that is narcissistic or has these type of, high conflict personalities, sometimes they're really good at masking over, right? Kind of their real way of moving through the world. And so the court hasn't quite figured out that they're not credible yet, but you're just putting it all out there, right? You're just being you're being transparent, you're not hiding anything, you're putting it all out. And so consequently, sometimes if you're putting it all out in an emotional or hysterical way, then that hurts your credibility and makes it seem like you are the problematic one. So I think that, the most important things to understand is that when the court is looking at this, like I said, number one, they're trying to sift through that information and determine what pieces of your case line up with what pieces of the law. And I think as lay people, we really come at it from a perspective of what we think is reasonable, right? Because we all, let's face it, we have all watched legal shows. We've all seen people cross-examined on TV. We've all heard the phrase beyond a reasonable doubt, right? All those kinds of things, which is a criminal law phrase, not a family law one. But either way, this is kind of what we're all exposed to and what we all see. And so we all walk into that courtroom thinking, well, if I'm reasonable and I present all these facts that I think are reasonable, then the judge is going to be reasonable and give me what I'm looking for. Only that's not the framework that the judge is coming at it with. You may be being reasonable in your opinion, but if the court looks at your interactions and the things you've done and says, you know what? This person they're both contributing to the conflict and they're both doing all these things and they're both, not putting the interest of the child first. You may think you're being reasonable and you may think the other person's being totally unreasonable, but the court just sees that as you're both contributing to the conflict because of the way that you're conducting yourself. And that subsequently hurts your credibility. A lot of times people will say, well, is the other person going to get in trouble for this particular thing? And I always say, will that one thing flip your case? Probably not. There's probably not very many one things that'll just flip your case outside of something really severe, like driving under the influence with the children or frank sexual abuse or beating or, there are things that'll flip your case on a dime, right? But absent that level of extremeness, it really comes down to kind of the ongoing interaction and the credibility that's created from that. So will one little thing get you a shift in your case? No, but 10 little things together showing the pattern of that behavior may, because it's going to hurt that person's credibility and help yours. And the more we help your credibility, the more the judge believes all the factors and like all the testimony, all the things that you're saying in the case. And then when those things line up with the law, now you've got a winning case, right? Because all of the puzzle pieces are fitting together. This is the piece that your attorney kind of is the intermediary for, right? They're taking your layperson information and they're trying to put it through a funnel to the judge to where the judge can easily digest the legal aspect of the case, okay, and how it lines up with the law. So it's important to understand that, because I think even when clients have attorneys, I think they feel frustrated often because they feel like the attorney didn't say or do something they should have, that they wanted them to say or whatever. And a lot of times that's a judgment call the attorney's making based on the hundreds of times that they've done this, because they know what the factors are that line up with the law. That's their job. And if you don't have an attorney, well, you're missing that funnel, right? And you have to learn how to be that funnel yourself in your own case, or else you go in front of the judge and you lay all of this stuff out and it's too much and it's not the impactful things and it's not going to give you credibility in your situation and help you succeed in the courtroom. If you would like to learn more about my coaching services and how I might be able to help you with these kinds of issues, you can go to divorceuniversityonline.com/VIP-coaching. There is information on that page where you can learn more about my various programs, potentially book a call with me, and be able to find one that is a good fit for you. See you guys next time.